Warm welcome to this special episode of Good Governance and Better Security Leadership Series. My name is Anoop Verma. Today we are having a webinar on the important topic of biometrics and cybersecurity. Our esteemed guest and expert at this webinar is Mr. B. Shanker Jaiswal. He is the Joint Commissioner of Delhi Police, a member of Indian Police Service. He is the BTech. He is BTech from IIT Kanpur and MS Research from IIT Delhi. He pursues his interest in cybercrime prevention and detection and uses emerging digital technologies for solving practical policing problems. In a detailed presentation, Mr. Jaiswal will shed light on the issues and challenges in developing a foolproof biometrics and cybersecurity systems which can enable government departments and private enterprises to identify individuals and conduct efficient and safe transactions. He will also explain how biometrics is currently being used by law enforcement agencies. Welcome, Mr. B. Shankar Jaiswal.
Thank you, Anoopji. Thank you for inviting me for giving my talk on such an important topic. It's highly contemporary, I must say. We all know that cybersecurity is so important, and how biometrics can play a big role in both ways in ensuring cybersecurity, and how it can also put a lot of challenges before community, society, and law enforcement to ensure that our data is secure, identity is secure, personal information is not tampered with. So in today's talk, I'll be talking about different kinds of biometrics, their implications in cybersecurity, and what are the contemporary issues involved, which are very important for all of us to know. So I'll start with my slides. So my talk will be first part, in first 10 minutes, I'll be talking about different kinds of biometrics: fingerprint, facial, iris, signature. When I'm talking about signature, it is online signature. And part two, I'll be talking about contemporary issues. I just mentioned what are the technical and logistical and legal issues involved in biometrics and how that is going to impact cybersecurity, because my prime concern is information and data security. So why biometrics? Why do we need biometrics? So I'm sure everybody knows that if you trace the history, it goes back at least 200 years back. First time, signature, handwritten signature was used, and anthropometrics was also used for establishing the identity of a person. And in crime investigation, biometrics was started with the fingerprint and also anthropometry, measurement of head. But in the last 2 centuries, we have come a long way from traditional biometrics. We have now come to biometrics, which is driven by AI and machine learning, which is being highly reliable, which is also automated. So I'm talking all these topics in details. So why we use biometrics? Because it's more reliable than password and ID card, highly evidentiary value in crime investigation, watch list matching, quickly identifies person of interest, identity theft risk is reduced, and it controls the access to sensitive areas. And the most important thing, one is not required to remember the biometric data, because if I'm using my fingerprint, I'm not required to remember anything. I have to just show my fingerprint, unlike password or unlike some dongle which I have to carry all the time. So biometrics is very user-friendly in a sense, because we don't have to carry anything, we don't have to remember anything. So that's why this is the biggest advantage of biometrics, but there are some disadvantages, and I'll be talking about those in the coming slides. So generally for recognition, it is based on three broad classes of information. The first is what a person knows. And in this category, we have password and cryptographic keys. And second is what a person possesses. In this category, it is ID card, physical keys, dongle, personal devices, for example, cell phone, in which we use OTP. And third is what a person intrinsically is. So that here we talk about biometrics. The third category is a concern of today's talk. And within this third category, what a person is, again, it can be subdivided in two parts. First is what I am intrinsically, inherently, and second, how I behave externally. So inherently, I may be having characteristic like fingerprint, iris, and face, which I can't change. But my external traits, for example, my speech pattern, my gait, and other things like the way my pitch of my sound, all these things are external biometrics. Both are used for biometric, identification. But today I'll be talking mostly about inherent biometrics. For example, fingerprint, iris, face, and one external biometric I'll be discussing today, and that is online signature. That is external biometric. So you can see here physiological biometrics, fingerprint, face, iris, retina, hand geometry, and behavioral biometrics, voice, gait, online signature. So in biometric system, we have two kinds of broad application. One is enrollment, and after enrollment, we either we use for any person who is coming for matching, it can be either identification or verification or recognition. So these are and all the identification, verification, and recognitions are combined together, and we commonly call recognition phase. Enrollment phase is one when a person gets his biometric registered. I mean, that is used once forever, unless it is revised or modified. And then in subsequent stages, the person comes for recognition. The recognition can be, in literature, it's called query. So query can be for identification of a person, for verification of a person, or for recognition. And broadly, these are the building blocks. So we need a sensor which will capture the biometric. For face, it is camera. For iris, again, there is another kind of camera. And for fingerprint, again, we have to scan the fingerprint. There is fingerprint scanner. And for signature, there is a pad on which we do the signature, online signature. And after sensor gets the data, it is converted into a different form by which we get some important features for matching and for recognition, and which is the effort which will come later on. And then we have to create a database of biometric, and finally the matcher algorithm. So you can see here what kind of fingerprint sensors are there. I just mentioned cameras of three kinds. For voice, it is microphone, and for online signature, it is signature pad. And for extraction module, and thereafter, once the data is captured by sensor, then there's a battery of processes. One is pre-processing, then segmentation. Segmentation means you segment the relevant data, relevant portion of, for example, fingerprint or face, because when you take a photograph, it's not only face, some other things will also come up, but we have to remove other parts of the faces, you have to take the facial part, and we call that as blob. And fingerprint also, we need to remove the unwanted portion, and similarly for iris also. So that is called pre-processing, segmentation. Then enhancement, we have to enhance the quality of image, and there are many methods for doing that: smoothing, histogram, equalization, and others. You can see here how a sensor of various kinds that is used for capturing biometrics. Generic biometric system will have a block diagram like this. First, a user has to enroll the biometric, and second, and that is kept in the form of a template in a very secure manner. And when the same person comes for matching or recognition, identification, or verification, it is called a query, and that query is matched with template by matcher algorithm, and the decision is taken whether person is genuine or not. So verification is basically a one-to-one match, and the answer is whether person has matched correctly or not. So it is the easier part of biometric matching. The difficult part is identification, and both are collectively called recognition. So identification means a person comes for matching, he doesn't reveal his name or anything. He's a suspicious person. I have to check his photo from a template of, let's say, lakhs of images, where I keep images of all the person maybe who are having criminal background. So here it is the match will be 1:n, and that's the most difficult part because it requires a lot of computational resources. So I'll briefly talk about fingerprint recognition. So you can see fingerprints are captured in three ways. One is the planned way, it is captured either in roll form, roll fingerprint, where you have to roll the finger, and or simply you have, if you place the finger without making any movement, then it's called plain fingerprint. So both have got its advantages and disadvantages. And when we get a fingerprint from scene of crime or maybe in any other way, on document, it is called latent fingerprint, which is most of the time not complete because that kind of fingerprint is not captured in a constrained manner. Because the person who is making the fingerprint impression may not be even aware that he's making, and that's how we catch criminals. And fingerprint features are three levels. Three levels means level one is of the lower category, level two is higher category, and level three is still higher. So most of the time it is done at the level two, which is minutia. So minutia points matching is a common way of matching fingerprints. In India, anything above 8 is considered to be good recognition, and that is admissible in court of law. So 8 minutia points must match. Ideally, sometime even 50, 60, 70 minutia point will also match. But this is the minimum cutoff by which we take a decision that the person whose fingerprint has been matched with another one is the same person. So that is the minimum criteria. If it is less than 8, it will be said that that fingerprint has not matched. And the basic of matching is that there's something called core point, but I'll not go into the details of this because this is a very detailed discussion. So I'll skip that. And then I'll come to face recognition. So face recognition, it has got variety of applications. And nowadays, for surveillance also, face recognition can be used. In Criminal Procedure Identification Act, now it is mandatory for law enforcement agencies to capture images, even fingerprints also, for so that in future some suspicious person is found, his biometrics can be compared with all the database of such kind of biometric which is kept under the provisions of law. So face is very important from that perspective, and from city surveillance also, real-time face matching can be done, and that will ensure safe and secure environment across the city. And face modalities can change. It's very, very important to know because facial recognition in surveillance video is very challenging problem. And because in constrained environment, both the template and query are of very high quality. So matching at times will be as accurate as 98%, 99%, and even higher. But when it is face is captured in unconstrained environment, where lighting is not proper, angle is not proper, aging has happened. So expressions are changing. Other kind of disguise, some kind of disguise artifacts are there. For example, facial hairs, sometimes specs, mask. In that situation, facial recognition is very difficult and accuracy is very low, and that is a challenging problem. And that's a kind of challenge for law enforcement community, how to work, how to deal with it, how to work with the research community to improve the accuracy. So faces have got some very unique attributes, features, and that is used for matching faces. But I'll not go into this. It's just a screen for giving some kind of flavor for face recognition. Third is iris recognition system. So iris is, again, we know that iris is used in our Aadhaar card also. And Aadhaar is, in fact, Aadhaar uses iris, fingerprint, and also images are taken. Facial images are also taken. So just to give a flavor, how exactly iris is captured. So first capturing of the image from a specialized camera, and then taking out the iris portion by segmentation. And then there's some pre-processing done, but that's all mathematics. So I'll not go into that. But iris recognition is considered to be more accurate than fingerprint. So that's why iris is very important. But there's one algorithm I have just given impression: carry edge detection and enhancement. So how iris images are enhanced. and segmentation is done, and there's some mathematical processing and transformation is done for keeping the data in template. And whenever a person comes, in same way, iris scan is done, and the data is again pre-processed and transformation is done. And after transformation, the output is matched with what is kept in template. If that matches, then it is a very positive identification. And again, it can also be 1:n and 1:1. Both are possible. Then, so this is iris recognition. So last one is online signature verification. So online signature verification is very important these days, because sometimes you have to sign a document. It can be signed digitally also, but if you are not going for digital signature, then online signature can also be taken. And online signature can be captured in real time. And later on, some other person comes, so we can again ask the person to sign, and online signature is not matching, then they based on that we can take a decision. So this is also a very good way of identifying and matching a person, but accuracy is not very high, but still it is pretty good for day-to-day work. If the stakes are not very high, we can go for online signature alone. But online signature, along with other biometrics, can do wonder, and because in that case, it can become multi-biometrics. So now this is the era of multi-biometrics. We don't rely on just one biometric trait, and we use a combination of biometrics. I'll talk about this in coming slides. So signature biometrics, I'll just give a flavor of how exactly it look like. So you see a person has got a very unique signature, but again, every time a person signs, there would be some variations. You can see the same person has signed multiple times, and we can see in this image how variations happen. So that's why that's the root of getting little low accuracy as compared to iris scan and facial recognition. Facial recognition can be as good as 99.8% if it is in constrained environment. So I would rate facial recognition as the highest level if it is in a constrained environment. But online signature can have a lot of variation. So if the accuracy could be lower as compared to others. But it doesn't mean that we cannot use it, because still if it is in the range of 90% or something, it is useful for day-to-day working. So there are some mathematics involved here, but a lot of variables are created, and that is used for computation of attributes and matching. So as many 44 variables in this list, it has been listed by some researchers. So that many variables can be used, but practically all the variables are not used. Even few variables are good enough for good matching. Finally, I'm going to compare some biometrics, and you can see here the accuracy-wise, fingerprint identification is at a high level. Even iris is also high level. So roughly fingerprint identification, it varies depending on the quality of fingerprint. If quality of fingerprint is very good, it will be as good as 100%, of course. But if quality of fingerprint is not that good, again the quality, this accuracy will suffer. So practical in terms, when for crime investigation, already I mentioned that minutia 0.8 and above is the standard. But when you are going for 1:n match and you want some possible images, possible fingerprints, so definitely here it can be very useful online, and that's why there's something called automated fingerprint identification system. I'll talk about that also. So that facial recognition is medium and low. It all depends on the quality of faces, and voice verification, because voice is very easy to mimic. So it is having medium accuracy. And there are other issues also, attack precaution, verification time, device requirements. But there are other things involved. So we can compare all the different modalities. Contemporary issues. So this is the core concerns of today's talk. And I'm into part 2 of my talk. So I'll talk about what are the issues where we need to work more. And one issue is latent and rural fingerprint. And that is the core concern of an investigator, crime investigator, because during investigation, we get chance print from scene of crime. And at times, we also get some people who are working, who are doing some manual work, and maybe working some factories, their fingerprints gets, some mutilation happens on skin. So because of that, fingerprints are disturbed. So rural fingerprint, we find very difficult to, work with. So these are challenging areas, latent fingerprint and rural fingerprint. reliability is the question. But reliability here, when I say reliability, I'm not saying that for the sake of admissibility in court, because anything which is admissible in court has to have that minimum standard, and that has to be ensured. If that is not there, it will not be treated as a good piece of evidence. So for fingerprint matching results, the fingerprint examiner will check whether that minimum number of minutia points are matching or not. If minutia points, that many minutia points are not matching, then it will be inconclusive, or it will be declared as not matching. So that standard will remain. But for day-to-day recognition system, we need to work with difficult kind of fingerprint. So that is important. And second is automated fingerprint identification system. So fingerprint, evolved from manual matching, and still in court of law, the result which is produced is done by examiner by manual verification. But automated fingerprint identification system gives us an automated way of giving first level of screening. And because sometimes a fingerprint has to be searched in millions of fingerprints, so that is not possible by a fingerprint examiner to go into each and every fingerprint and check. So this automated fingerprint identification system makes life very easier for law enforcement community. And I think it was late 70s. This was established, first done by FBI, for FBI, by a company, and leading company at that time. And thereafter, this AFIS has become a global phenomena. And in India also, a national level AFIS has been, created, and that is found very useful. And law enforcement company across the country, they are using it, because all the AFIS of different states and UTs, they have been integrated, and now it has become NAFIS, National Automated Fingerprint Identification System. And third one is Aadhaar. As I said, Aadhaar is using all three: face, iris scan, and also fingerprint. So it's a very good example of understanding biometrics. So I'll also talk about some fraud which is involving biometrics. And nowadays, because we are protecting our data using biometrics, we are protecting our networks using biometrics, because cryptography or encryption is one thing. But if I'm using my biometric for creating a kind of shield around our network, our computing resources, our data, definitely that shield can be breached if there is some kind of attack. Maybe biometrics has leaked in public domain. So how to protect our biometric and how to protect our system by biometric fraud, that is important. And there's something called AEPS, Aadhaar Enabled Payment Scam. There was some scam, now it has stopped. But at one point of time, it was very serious. So we must know to what exactly it was. And then preventing biometric spoofing. So somebody can create a face image, because facial images of most of the people are available in public domain. So my face can always be superimposed on some latex plastic or something like that, and that can be presented before any identification or verification system. So how to check that? So, so if somebody using my biometric for unauthorized entry in the system, whether it's a physical system or computer system, so that is called biometric spoofing. And how to check that? There are many ways of doing it. The one is liveliness detection. So this system, liveliness detection, ensures that the living person is actually presenting the biometric. And there are many ways of doing. One way is by taking multiple images, multiple fingerprints or multiple face, and with variation in camera, and that ensures that only living person can do. A person who is presenting a photo cannot do that. So because there are some challenges involved, and that challenges cannot be met by some inanimate images of fingerprint, face, or iris. And second is template protection. Nowadays, for matching, it is possible to not use the actual biometric, rather using a token pertaining to that biometric. For example, I have got my fingerprint. My fingerprint can be kept in a secure place, and a token of my fingerprint can be created, and that can be used for actual matching. So in a way, my original fingerprint has not gone anywhere. Similarly, my iris scan can also be kept in a secure place. So there's something called template protection, and that is one example is fuzzy vault. There are many other ways of doing that. So template protection means preserving the original biometrics and working with a token of that. And even if you know in Aadhaar also this is possible. Aadhaar number can be protected, and some kind of token other number can be created. Anyone can download that, and that can be used for day-to-day sharing of Aadhaar number if it is required. Then multi-biometrics, where instead of one, we use multiple modalities. For example, combination of iris, image, facial image, and online signature. So in Aadhaar is a good example of multi-biometrics here. Fingerprint, face, and online signature is also taken, and then iris scan is also done. Then multi-factor authentication. This is another concept where not only different modalities of biometrics, but also different modalities of identity basis are also used. For example, I can use face along with password. I can use face, password, and OTP. So, as I said in the beginning, we can identify a person based on three bases. One is what I know, what I am, what I do, and what I have. So, the combination of all three or four things can be used, and that is called multi-factor authentication, and that's make the system very, very secure. Now, we're talking about synthetic biometric data also nowadays, means because AI is now affording us to create artificial biometric data. So that is a new kind of phenomena, and we must be aware of it. And then biometrics in computing era. So latent fingerprint, the technology has advanced manifold, because with the arrival of deep learning, the accuracy of fingerprint matching in latent fingerprint has gone up. In fact, I have also published one paper with my, uh, co-authors and collaborators in this area. So that was basically in this latent fingerprint area. And then coming to AFIS, I mentioned what AFIS. So AFIS is a kind of national, first AFIS is state UT level database. And when I call NAFIS, National Automated Fingerprint Identification System, is a national level database. So this has been established, and this is working well, and people are using in a big way, and results are very promising, very encouraging. So this is the typical flow diagram of AFIS. So, and this is NAFIS. So NAFIS, you can see the hierarchy at district level. At NCRB headquarters, there's a national database, and field unit can also connect to that. So this is a typical, flow chart. This is another way to look at it. Aadhaar I mentioned, 12-digit unique identification number, and Aadhaar uses biometric data, fingerprint and iris scan, and demographic data is also there. So fingerprint, iris, face, of course, face is taken. We know that face is also captured, but of course, for matching fingerprint and iris are used. Then coming to biometric frauds, so I mentioned about spoofing during presentation. Then replay attack can also be done. Same data can be sent again and again. So that is replay, recording and replaying. Suppose somebody has presented his photo or fingerprint, that can be captured by some kind of hidden malicious code, and that can be used later on. So this is possible. So we have to protect our system that the people, some malicious malware is not in my system where matching is being done. Then data breaches. What are the mitigation strategies? So multi-factor authentication is one. Anomaly detection. So here the role of AI lies. AI can detect any kind of anomalous behavior of attackers, and based on that, it can take decision. It can stop the operation, and that's why we have to depend heavily on AI. And secure storage, I mentioned, template protection is secure storage. Liveness detection, why we do need? Because static images can be created of anything, for iris, for face, for fingerprint, for online signature. And that's why we need to ensure that the real person is actually presenting the biometric modality, different modalities. And there are many ways of doing it. Nowadays, people are working for 3D, imaging, so that real person can only qualify. And if somebody has taken image on plain, sheet, that cannot qualify because it's not having 3D, dimension, 3D aspects involved. Because here in liveness detection, some kind of challenges are posed, and those challenges cannot be met by plain, fixed fingerprints, which is presented by someone who is trying to spoof the identity. So multi-biometrics, I mentioned, multi-biometrics can realize in many ways. Multi-sensor system, because sensors can be many, multi-modal system, modalities can be many, multi-sample system, multiple samples of the same person taken. This is also multi-biometrics. Then multi-algorithm system, same thing, matching is done by variety of algorithms. So even somebody is trying to spoof, but if he doesn't know the algorithm, perhaps he cannot qualify. And then multi-instance system. So liveness detection, when we don't do liveness detection, it's called passive system. In active system, you can see here in the image, multiple images are being taken. So that ensures that the real person is presenting. So many ways of liveness many aspects of liveness you can capture. So behavioral indicator can be captured. For example, capturing and analyzing behavioral traits such as blinking, head movement, or speech. So while capturing face also, I can capture head movement. I can account for blinking, which is not possible when only face a fixed, some kind of play card and some kind of poster is presented. The physiological response and then challenge response. Some challenge can also be put in real time, and challenge can be unknown. So only living person can do that. For example, a living person can be asked some past question. The past question is known only by the living person, because that question, and that he has during enrollment time, he has put some question and answer to that past questions. So this is liveness detection. So benefits are of course very obvious. So improved security, enhanced accuracy, and user confidence. The user also feels that my biometric cannot be spoofed. Then template protection. The tokenization is one way of, template protection. Secure hashing, one-way function is used. So during tokenization, from tokens, you can't retrieve the original biometrics. So it can be done for all the three modalities. Fuzzy bot is one method of template protection. I'll not go into details of this. But multi-biometrics, I spoke about it. And pitfalls of single biometrics are obvious, because that once that particular modality image is out, we are highly vulnerable. So if you use a combination of biometrics, perhaps there's some chance that the adversary may not be having access to all modalities. The advantages are obvious: robust against spoofing, increased security, multi-factor authentication, MFA, very common. 2FA is very common. Two-factor authentication. I use my phone, so my face and some kind of password is also there. So both the things can be done. It can be three also. Pins, people are using pins, and then people are also using face. Pins and face are a good combination. So advantages are again obvious. If you suppose my mobile is lost, at least the adversary cannot find the details, and I can still remotely also, nowadays we can act and we can block the mobile from unauthorized access. So two-factor authentication, very common these days. So these are biometric template protection. You can see here while capturing, we take different images, not just one. And what kind of images the system is taking perhaps may not be known to adversary, and that's why liveness is very important. Finally, when you do multi-biometrics, you capture all the three kinds of things: what I know, what I am, and what I have. So when you use one or more of such things, the system becomes very robust for unauthorized access. So biometrics in AI age, how it is important. I said synthetic data can also be created. Synthetic fingerprints can be created. Synthetic faces can be created. So that is an advantage and disadvantage both. Advantage in a sense because now the testing and training of algorithms can be done on synthetic data because Digital Personal Data Protection Act does allow widespread use of someone's images and fingerprints without his or her permission. So the research community and law enforcement community. So this is an advantage for research community particularly to create synthetic images and train the system based on that. The disadvantage that this generative AI, which is behind synthetic data sets, can be used for creating someone's image, someone's face, or someone fingerprint. So that is important. So but AI can give a lot many good algorithms for liveness detection, anomaly detection. So this is a benefit before us, and biometrics become more and more secure and robust. So an explainable AI is another thing which is happening, and that will ensure that our algorithm, which is working, is also actually is following the ethical aspect of AI, and transparency, fairness, and all these things are properly addressed. So finally, quantum computing is adding a new dimension, and quantum computing, I would say, is going to be realized by the end of this decade, by all estimates. And once quantum computing is fully realized, two algorithms, one is Shor's algorithm, another is Grover's algorithm. These two algorithms, which are already discovered way back in 90s by two reputed computer scientists, Mr. Peter Shor and Mr. Grover. Mr. Grover is from India, and he developed one of the algorithms of quantum computing. So these algorithms can be fully implemented, and then it is possible to break many traditional cryptographic algorithms. So that, and even biometric matching algorithm can also be worked with. So people can try many kind of possible, imaginary biometric data and try and break the system. Because biometric is also like a password, right? You, instead of trying with different password, you're trying with different possible biometric. So with quantum computing, like it's a very emerging area. It is very difficult to say how exactly it will shape the landscape of biometrics. But some of the algorithms which are already there may break many established encryption system, particularly RSA algorithm on which digital signature is based. So that's why very important. But post-quantum cryptography, which will be another gift of quantum computing era, that will ensure that a lot of encryption, which is based on post-quantum cryptography, will be relevant and which will be tamper-proof, which will be proof from all kinds of attack. So that is a plus side, a silver lining. So synthetic biometric data I mentioned is a threat as well as opportunities. And research communities are using synthetic biometrics for doing all kinds of training of AI models. So it's important, but we must be aware of this kind of thing. And finally, I'm going to touch upon contemporary legal issues. So we all know that 3 new criminal laws have been enacted, and already they're being is already implemented throughout the country. And with this, now we have to capture a lot of biometrics as part of investigation. And then another act called Criminal Procedure Identification Act, CRPI, that mandates law enforcement agencies to capture biometrics of persons who are arrested. So, and that's where a huge database of biometrics would be created. So the issues of template protection, issues of good accuracy in matching, all these things come up. And also, liveliness detection will also be required whenever some kind of recognition is being done. So these things will shape the future of biometrics. And then DPDP Act, Digital Personal Data Protection Act, and that basically talks about protection of digital personal data, and of course fingerprint, face, iris, these are also digital personal data. And it enjoins upon the data fiduciaries, whosoever is keeping data of citizen. The fiduciary has to make sure that the data used for the purpose it is mandated and it is agreed upon by the person who is sharing the data, and if within law it is to be used, then it is fine. But otherwise, the data has to be properly disposed of. So the DPDP Act talks for that, and law enforcement agencies and research committees, they have been given certain privileges, certain exemption, so that they can do their duties and they can do their work, and there are separate provisions for that. But they again, there are some provisions for the protection of personal data, digital personal data. So that was all, Anoop I wanted to share today. I went on for next 10 minutes because there are not many
That's
topics.
fine. It was a very enlightening presentation, and you have
Thank
given
you so
all
much.
the perspectives and the issues and challenges, as well as how the technology is evolving.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
I would like to ask some follow-up questions on that, uh, to have more perspective on details on what you have already said.
Yeah.
What is the level of efficiency of the biometric systems that we are currently using?
Yeah, very good question, Anoopji. In fact, I just wanted to inform you that, first of all, because there were two important issues. One is template protection, and second is liveness detection. So first of all, even DPDP Act also required that we have to protect the data first. It should not be leaked in public domain. And second, data should be used only for the purpose the fiduciary is mandated to do, or fiduciary is consented by the user, by the data person who is sharing data. And beyond that, the data cannot be used. So the first important thing is that it's a very challenging to protect data all the time, because the criminals, cyber criminals are there to always attack different systems. They are out to break any, use any vulnerabilities in the existing system. So currently, as I said, the fuzzy bot is one, is a traditional technique, but many smart algorithms have come up today with the arrival of deep learning, AI, and machine learning. So those smart algorithms make sure that the template is duly properly protected. And I said tokenization. Through tokens, we deal with matching. We do only with tokens, not with the original biometric data. So that those algorithms ensure that biometric is not released. And we have seen even Aadhaar also has been out or throughout. We find that an Aadhaar has been protected. We never found any breach in Aadhaar data, though it carries the data of over 1 billion population, but still we have never come across any instance, because it's all because of the power of such powerful algorithms. And second thing is that liveness detection. So liveness detection, again, it is based on some algorithms, AI algorithms. There are many techniques, and one such technique is capturing 3D images, multiple images. So by doing that, spoofing is protected. So wrong person is not allowed entry. So both way, we are protecting our house, and we are also protecting the attack from outside. So these two things make sure that the biometric ecosystem is properly protected, and it is robust for use in an online mode, because nowadays everything is online, and it is immune from all kinds of attack.
What you said about the challenges that you pointed out in face recognition is something that will touch most people today, at least the young generation, for using their mobile phones to log into their bank accounts. They just look into a mobile phone and they log into a bank account, and they can conduct any transaction. If the faces can be created through latex, then this puts the whole app level banking at a risk. So how much of a risk is this?
Yeah, very good question, because we can protect the data center, we can protect the server, but the person who is using this system from mobile, and if that is called endpoint. So that we don't only have to protect the server, data center, everything. We also have to protect all the endpoints, and all the mobiles which are in the hands of users. They are the endpoints. So it's the responsibility of the user, of course. The user have to make sure that the device which is using is free, immune from all kinds of attack. Number one, is duly protected. Again, of course, that device itself can be protected by multi-factor authentication. we should be properly sanitized from all kinds of malware. And then one more thing, if we want to give access to someone to some secure system, there's something called remote data mobile device management is also possible. So because we do in government also, in our enterprise level, it is possible because employees are using a government device. Those devices can be properly managed remotely by central server, by something called MDM. Uh, so mobile device management ensures that not only unauthorized access is prevented, but also the device cannot be used for uh, any purpose other than what it is, uh, prescribed for. So if that device is used only for accessing to some central application and limited number of applications of the enterprise, then that mobile device cannot be used for accessing internet or accessing any other application. So that MDM ensures that that's another layer of security. I mean, that's very robust. But without that, also user can do lot many things to ensure that his biometric data is duly protected and spoofing is not allowed. So that is possible.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jaiswal. It was very good talking to you. And we have learned some new things about how biometrics works and what kind of challenges and issues are and how this whole field is evolving and impacting all our lives. Thank you.